Yeah, my name is Luis Antonio Robles Santiago. All my friends call me Louie, and I am the owner-operator of Louie's VIP Tours of Puerto Rico. My very first tour was in February of 1989. I met some people on the beach, and they asked me if I knew my way around Puerto Rico, and I said, yeah. And they said, we would like to hire you. And I said, to do what? They said, to be our driver. And I said, well, where do you want to go? And they said, well, we want to see the rainforest, we want to go to Fajardo, we want to go to the caves. They said, we'll pay you $50 a day to drive us around, and we'll rent the car. And I said, plus lunch? And she said, plus lunch. That's how I got started. My specialty is the rainforest. I've read many books and took a few classes on some of the plant life and the birds and stuff. Puerto Rico doesn't have any large animals. And so I decided that I was going to dedicate myself more to the rainforest than to any other tour. And that's what I mainly do. Yeah, before the hurricanes, the forest, of course, was open completely. And there were probably about 5 trails available for people to go hike on. Some of them are very short and small, not too interesting, and then some of them are a little bit longer and challenging. The longest trail that one could take at that time was about 2 hours up to the peak and 2 hours down. So it took a 4-hour hike, plus the time that you spent up there looking around and taking photos. But I would do the visitor center, then La Coca waterfall, then La Jocahu Tower, and then La Mina Trail to the Big Tree Trail, which is an hour and a half long. And then at the halfway point, there's a waterfall. You could take a dip in that waterfall, weather permitting. Now, everything is closed except the first waterfall, La Coca. The visitor center is in dire need of repair. It's going to take a couple of years for that to get back on. So the Forest Service set up a small makeshift visitor center, so I take people there, then to La Coca waterfall, then I take them to a viewing area where they can, on a clear day, you can see St. Thomas. And then I take them to a river where they take a little dip, and then I take them to lunch, and then back home. In the last few years, we've had threats of hurricanes, but nothing happened seriously, so I didn't take it too seriously, which I should have. But after Irma, the power, the Puerto Rican government usually cuts the power just before the hurricane hits. That way there's no tension wires on the ground and people don't get electrocuted, etc. So when they cut the power, I just basically, here you just hunker down, sit it out, and wait for it to pass in your house, basically. If you're in an area that's threatened and your safety could be, then you should evacuate and go somewhere where it's safe. So what I did is I just stayed home, and then the next day I ventured out. Irma wasn't that bad in my area, and when Maria hit, I wasn't prepared at all. Because after Irma, shortly after, I got my power back. 3 days. Water. Never lost water, so I figured, oh, this is going to be okay. But Maria was just devastating. The next day, there was not one household on the island that had power. All the telecommunications antennas were down. There was no internet, there was no phone service, no cell phone. We were completely out of touch. And I got on one of my bikes and I took a ride around, and I could see the fallen trees, the fallen light poles, and the high tension wires on the ground. Storefronts had been blown out, and of course, in some areas, looters went in there and cleaned the place out, so the poor owner probably lost everything. And of course, the direct and indirect life that was lost, from the hurricane. People that were sick that needed certain machines to help keep them alive. The machines, no power. They didn't have a generator. These people passed away, sadly. I dealt with no power for 4 months, and it was tough. We don't realize, us in the U.S. and, that us like a territory, and people in general in the world don't realize how much we depend on electricity. It is essential for our existence and for our way of life. No refrigeration, no power for the traffic lights to control the traffic, no pumps at the gas station, no gas. And no gas, so the delivery trucks to the supermarkets, which come, every 2 or 3 days, or if not every other day, no deliveries for meats and things that you buy, essentially canned food. So the supermarkets shelves were empty. Some of them were torn apart. They lost everything, so there was no supermarkets. It was a tough situation after Maria. I was thinking about possibly selling everything that I owned and just leaving. And my target was going to be Florida, or maybe somewhere in the south where the cold won't affect me. And so I put a comment on my Facebook page for Louie's VIP Tours that I was thinking about doing that, and I was going to ask for some advice from some of the people that have been on my tours. And I got a lot of answers right away saying, hang in there. This too will pass. You know, keep your faith. You know, the last thing that we lose is faith. So don't lose your faith. Things are going to come back. It's just going to take time. You just got to rough it out. It was a lot of stuff that I didn't expect from people that had been on a tour with me for maybe 4 or 5 hours once in a whole lifetime. And here they were sending me little packages with batteries, because batteries couldn't be found, and canned foods, and things that I could eat, you know, but I didn't have to prepare. It was unbelievable. That's why I say that it kind of restored my faith in humanity, because throughout my life, you know, things haven't been so great. I'm a Vietnam combat vet and had a rough time. And after Vietnam, it was tough finding a job, trying to fit in, and coming back to civilian life. So I was a little bit of a pessimist, you know. I mean, I enjoyed my tours and I met a lot of great people, but in general, I had this kind of pessimistic view of humanity, you know. Humanity, in the words of Jerry Seinfeld, is the worst, you know. But the comments and the encouragement I got and the positive thoughts that were sent to me actually really worked to lift up my spirits. Even though, of course, being without power for 4 months and no telephone, no internet, no television, it was tough, but it helped me endure. And it helped me just face each day, you know, with a little bit of strength and saying, this is going to pass, this is going to be over. Until finally, in December, I think it was in December, I got my power back. Puerto Rico is ready for visitors. The cruise ships are coming in steadily, and the gentlemen, the men and women that work the cruise ships are doing okay. There's a lot of hotels open, a lot of guest houses, and I would recommend you to come down. There are still remnants of the hurricanes. You can still see it in some of the landscapes and some of the wires that are down, but San Juan is pretty much back to normal. I would recommend you to come down. The restaurants are open. The festivities are going on. There's still a lot of drinking and dancing going on. And you can come down and check out louisviptours.com, and you can also check me out on TripAdvisor. And it'd be my pleasure to show you the forest through my eyes.